The text came at 6:47 a.m., just as I was stepping out of the shower. Don't come to Dad's funeral. No punctuation. No greeting. Just those 5 words, sitting cold and final on my phone screen. The sender, Nathan, my brother, the golden child, the one who always seemed to speak for the family even when no one asked him to. For a few seconds, I thought maybe it was some sick joke. But then I scrolled up, saw the unread message before it from Mom. The service will be private. Please understand. My hands shook. Understand what? That my father had died 3 days ago and no one thought to tell me until now? That my own family didn't want me there to say goodbye? I stood in my kitchen, towel wrapped around me, staring out the window at a perfectly normal morning, the sun rising over the neighboring rooftops, the hum of early traffic, and felt completely hollow. Dad and I hadn't spoken in almost 5 years. Not since the fight. But I'd still thought. I don't know, that death would dissolve some of the bitterness. That there'd be a moment, however brief, where grief outweighed pride. I was wrong. The last time I saw him, we were standing in the driveway of his company's headquarters, Hayes & Sons Construction, the business he'd built from nothing. He'd handed me a contract folder and said, "If you want to play executive, go find your own company. You're not taking this one down with your idealism." I'd handed it back and walked away. That was 5 years ago. I built my own firm, Haven Buildworks, from scratch. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. Still, the ache in my chest that morning wasn't about the business. It was about being erased. By noon, I was in my car, driving the 2 hours back to Maple Hill, the small town where I grew up. The funeral home's parking lot was already full. Through the glass doors, I could see familiar faces, Dad's old crew, board members, even Nathan, laughing softly with his wife near the front row. My heart pounded. I almost turned back. But then I remembered the text. Don't come. I walked through the doors anyway. Heads turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Nathan's smile vanished the second he saw me. "Olivia," he said under his breath, striding toward me. "What are you doing here?" "Saying goodbye to my father," I said. His jaw clenched. "You shouldn't be here." "I have every right to be." I pushed past him, ignoring the murmurs, the sideways glances. My mother didn't even look at me as I walked by. She just adjusted her pearl necklace, eyes fixed forward. And then, as I reached the casket, I saw something that made my stomach twist. The folder sitting atop the flowers, labeled Estate Transfer Authorization. My name wasn't on it. I didn't know it yet, but my father had changed his will 2 months before he died, and Nathan wasn't just the executor. He was the sole heir. The service ended in silence, the kind that felt heavy enough to crush every unspoken word in the room. When people started leaving, I stayed near the aisle, pretending to read the memorial pamphlet while watching Nathan and Mom whisper near the casket. He leaned close, nodding as she handed him a small, black folder, the same one I'd seen resting on top of the flowers earlier. I walked straight toward them before I could talk myself out of it. "So," I said evenly, "I guess Dad's estate is already being handled?" Nathan stiffened. "This isn't the time, Olivia." "When would be?" I snapped. "You made sure I wasn't even told he was sick, and now you want to talk about timing?" Mom finally turned to face me, her voice calm but cold. "You chose distance, Olivia. You made that decision years ago when you walked away from your father and his company." I stared at her, disbelief cutting through my anger. "He told me to leave, Mom. He said I was an embarrassment to the family name because I wanted to run things differently." She sighed, her eyes sharp. "You always twist things to make yourself the victim." Nathan stepped in, lowering his tone like he was trying to keep control. "Look, Dad's will was updated months ago. Everything's legal and clear. There's no point in making this uglier than it already is." My throat tightened. "So he just cut me out completely?" Nathan didn't answer. He didn't have to. The way he looked at me, pity mixed with victory, said everything. "You were gone," he said finally. Dad left everything to the person who stayed. For a second, the room tilted. I wanted to scream, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I turned and walked out, the cold air burning against my skin. The parking lot had emptied, leaving only a few stray cars and the distant hum of cicadas. I sat in mine, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I wasn't even angry about the money or the business. I was angry about being erased, as if 5 years of silence gave them permission to write me out of existence. That night, I checked into a small motel outside town, unable to face anyone. I opened my laptop, searching public estate filings out of spite, not expecting to find anything yet. But when I entered my father's name, a document popped up, Hayes & Sons ownership transfer, executed 8 weeks prior to death. The new owner of record, Nathan Hayes. The signature below my father's name looked off, too smooth, too deliberate. I'd watched my father sign hundreds of contracts growing up. His pen strokes were sharp, confident. This one looked forged. My chest tightened as realization hit me. Nathan hadn't just inherited the company, he'd prepared for it long before Dad's death. I didn't know how deep the lies went yet, but I knew one thing for sure: if Nathan had faked that signature, then my father's will wasn't the only thing my family had buried. The next morning, I drove straight to the old office of Hayes & Sons Construction, the building that once smelled like sawdust, ink, and my father's cologne. It looked the same from the outside, white brick, blue signage, clean glass, but inside, everything had changed. The framed photo of Dad that used to hang in the lobby was gone, replaced by one of Nathan standing beside a banner that read Hayes Legacy, New Vision. I almost laughed. Legacy? He'd stolen it. When the receptionist, a woman I didn't recognize, asked who I was there to see, I said, "Tell Nathan his sister is here." She hesitated but made the call. 2 minutes later, he appeared, tie crisp, smile fake. "Olivia," he said smoothly. "If this is about yesterday, maybe we should talk somewhere private." He led me into Dad's old office. The smell hit me immediately, different, sterile. He'd redecorated everything. No trace of the man who built it from the ground up. Just Nathan's slick new furniture and a wall of awards. "You've made yourself comfortable," I said. Dad would have been proud. He would have, Nathan replied. He trusted me to keep things running. That's what I'm doing. I pulled a printout from my bag and slid it across the desk. "You mean like signing over ownership 2 months before he died?" Interesting timing. His eyes flicked down, then back up. "You've been digging. You forged his signature," I said quietly. "That's not his handwriting, Nathan. I know what it looks like." He leaned back, folding his arms. "You're accusing me of fraud now?" "I'm saying something's wrong. Either you tricked him or you had help." His smile faded. "You're angry because Dad trusted me, not you. You couldn't handle real business decisions then, and you can't handle them now." "You mean decisions like cutting corners on safety to save money?" I shot back. "I read the audits before I left, Nathan. You were weeks away from being investigated." His jaw tightened, a flicker of guilt or fear passing through his eyes. "Watch what you say, Olivia." I leaned in. "I will. And I'll back it up with proof." He stood abruptly. "Get out. You don't belong here anymore." I left before I said something I'd regret, but not before I noticed the small safe in the corner of the office, the one Dad used to keep private contracts locked away. It was open just a crack, enough for me to see a flash of blue paper inside. Estate documents. My pulse quickened. Dad's real signature was always in blue ink. If that file was still there, it could prove everything. That night, I returned after hours. The building's security lights glowed faintly through the windows, the air thick with humidity and adrenaline. I picked the back door lock the same way Dad had shown me when I was a teenager. Inside, the office was quiet, every creak sounding louder than it should. I reached the safe, crouched, and tried the code I remembered, Dad's birthday. The lock clicked open. Inside were folders, ledgers, and a USB drive labeled Will Draft 1, Confidential. I grabbed it, heart racing, and left before the alarm timer could trigger. I didn't realize until later that I wasn't alone in the parking lot that night. Someone was sitting in a black SUV with the headlights off, watching me leave. The USB drive sat on the motel desk, a small piece of plastic that suddenly felt heavier than anything I'd ever held. My hands trembled as I plugged it into my laptop, half expecting the files to be corrupted or empty. But a folder appeared instantly, Will Draft 1's Confidential. Inside were PDFs, scanned letters, and something labeled voice note _0416. My father's initials were in the metadata, RH. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I hit play. His voice filled the room, tired but steady. "If you're hearing this, something has gone wrong with the transfer," he said. "Nathan's been pushing me to sign things I don't agree with. He says it's to simplify succession, but I'm not blind. There's pressure coming from somewhere else, someone outside the company. I've been delaying final signatures until I can verify where the money's going." The audio cut briefly, then resumed. "If anything happens to me before this is resolved, I want Olivia to have full access to the draft copy of my will. It's in the safe." I sat frozen, the sound of my father's voice echoing in my head. He hadn't just doubted Nathan, he'd been planning to restore my inheritance. The finalized will must have been altered after his death. I scrolled through the documents. There it was, my name listed as co-heir, equal ownership of the company, dated 4 months before he passed. But the signed version Nathan filed with the court had been issued 8 weeks before his death, with only Nathan listed. 2 different versions. 2 very different outcomes. My stomach turned. Nathan hadn't just forged a signature, he'd rewritten Dad's final wishes. I needed proof that one version came before the other, and that meant metadata. I opened the file properties, screenshotting timestamps, digital IDs, everything that showed the earlier document was authentic. But just as I was saving the folder, my laptop went black. The screen flickered once, twice, then shut off. A second later, a notification appeared, Remote Access Active, Session 1. Someone was hacking me. Panic shot through me. I yanked the USB drive out and slammed the laptop shut. My heart pounded in my ears as I checked the motel window. Outside, rain streaked the glass, but I caught movement in the reflection, a figure standing near the edge of the parking lot. A man in a dark coat, phone to his ear, not moving. Watching. I grabbed my bag and bolted. The motel clerk barely looked up as I ran past the lobby, keys in hand. I didn't even care where I was going, just away. I drove for hours, following the highway lights until the road signs started to blur. Finally, I pulled over at a rest stop and sat there, shaking. Someone had been monitoring me. The files, the break-in, the forged signature, it wasn't just Nathan. He had help. I thought about my father's voice note again, someone outside the company. Who was he talking about? And how much deeper did this go? I scrolled through my call log, my finger hovering over one name, Evelyn Cross, Dad's former accountant. She'd resigned suddenly a month before his death. Maybe she knew something. I dialed her number. It rang once before clicking to voicemail, but then a text appeared seconds later, meet me tomorrow. 9 a.m. at the quarry. Come alone. I didn't know it yet, but by the time I showed up at that quarry, Evelyn Cross would already be missing, and I'd become the next person on their list. The morning air was sharp and cold when I pulled up to the old maple quarry, the place where my father used to bring Nathan and me to skip stones when we were kids. It had been closed for years, surrounded by rusted fencing and faded no trespassing signs. I parked my car on the gravel shoulder, heart hammering as I scanned the empty lot. 9 a.m. came and went. No sign of Evelyn. By 9:15, a pit formed in my stomach. The place was too quiet, no wind, no birds, not even the hum of distant traffic. I called her number again. Straight to voicemail. I left a message anyway. Evelyn, it's Olivia. I'm here. Where are you? A faint crunch of gravel behind me made me turn. A car had just pulled in, an older silver sedan, its license plate caked in dirt. The driver stepped out tall, wearing a gray jacket and dark sunglasses. Not Evelyn. You lost? He asked, his voice calm but off, too polite for someone supposedly wandering a restricted site. No, I said, trying to sound steady. I'm waiting for someone. Right, he murmured, glancing toward the quarry's entrance. You shouldn't be here. Unsafe ground. My instincts screamed to leave. I started backing toward my car. That's when I noticed the logo on his jacket, a small embroidered emblem that read Hayes Group Security. My pulse spiked. Nathan's company didn't have a security division when Dad was alive. You work for my brother? I asked. His jaw flexed. You should go, Miss Hayes. He knew my name. That was enough. I climbed into my car and locked the doors. He didn't move, just stood there as I started the engine. For a few tense seconds, we stared at each other through the windshield. Then he turned, walked back to his car, and drove off. The second he was gone, I dialed the local police department and reported a welfare check for Evelyn Cross. The dispatcher asked when I'd last seen her. Yesterday, I said, though that wasn't true. She told me she had evidence about a forged estate transfer. Now she's missing. There was silence, then the dispatcher said, we'll send someone out. 2 hours later, I was sitting in a diner off Highway 9 when my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Olivia Hayes? A male voice asked. Who's this? Detective Rowe, Maple PD. You filed a report about an Evelyn Cross? Yes, I said quickly. Did you find her? We located her vehicle near the quarry, he said. But she's not with it. The driver's door was open, and her phone was still inside. My throat went dry. Do you think she's? We're treating it as suspicious, he said carefully. If she contacted you recently, I'd like you to come in. After we hung up, I sat there motionless, staring at my reflection in the diner window. My father's warning echoed in my head, someone outside the company. Whoever was pulling strings had just made someone disappear. I opened my bag and looked at the USB drive again. If they wanted it that badly, it meant one thing, it was enough to destroy them. I checked my phone for any messages from Nathan. Nothing. Not even a call about Evelyn, though she'd been on his payroll for years. He knew. He always knew. But he was staying silent because he thought fear would shut me up. He was wrong. I opened my laptop and began copying the files to a cloud drive, naming the folder Insurance. I wasn't going to let them bury another secret. That night, as I drove back toward Maple Hill, a single thought kept repeating in my head, if Evelyn was gone because of what she knew, then I was next. But before I could prove it, I'd have to find the one person still loyal to my father, and he was buried somewhere deep inside my brother's company. Finding that person wasn't easy. Most of my father's old employees had either retired or been quietly replaced after Nathan took over. But one name kept resurfacing whenever I searched through old company rosters, Samuel Pierce, my father's former project manager. He'd been with Hayes & Sons for 25 years before resigning abruptly 6 months after Dad's death. When I tried calling his last known number, it was disconnected. So, I did what my father used to do when someone didn't want to be found. I started knocking on doors. After hours of chasing dead ends, I found an address listed under his wife's name in Ridgewood, a sleepy town an hour north of Maple Hill. The house sat at the edge of a cul-de-sac, small and quiet, with a blue pickup in the driveway. When he opened the door, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older than I remembered, his hair gray and his shoulders heavy, like the last few years had worn him down. "Mr. Pierce," I said, forcing a smile. "It's Olivia. Richard Hayes's daughter." His expression froze for a second before softening. "Olivia," he said quietly. "I thought you'd never come." He led me inside. The living room smelled faintly of coffee and wood polish. "I heard about what happened at the company," he said. "And Evelyn." I stiffened. "You know about that?" He nodded slowly. "Evelyn called me the day before she went missing. Said she had something that could ruin your brother. She was supposed to meet me the next morning," I said. "She never showed." Samuel sighed. "That doesn't surprise me. After your father died, things changed fast. Nathan started pushing new investors into the company, men I'd never met, people with too much money and no interest in construction. One of them started showing up at board meetings, a man named Victor Lang. I think that's who your father meant when he said someone outside the company was involved." The name hit me like a jolt. "Who is he?" "No one really knows," Samuel said. "But he's connected to a group of developers who buy up failing businesses, gut them, and resell the assets. Nathan signed an exclusive partnership with them right after your father's will went through. I warned him it was dangerous. 2 weeks later, I was asked to resign." He walked over to a locked cabinet and pulled out a worn leather folder. Inside were old invoices, meeting notes, and photos of contracts with Lang's signature beside Nathan's. "Your father refused to sign these," he said. "He knew Lang's people were laundering money through dummy accounts. That's what the argument was about before he died." My stomach twisted. "So, Nathan didn't just forge the will, he helped them cover financial fraud." Samuel nodded grimly. "And now he's trapped. If Lang's group goes down, so does he. That's why they can't afford anyone snooping around." I looked down at the documents spread across the table. "Will you testify?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "I've got a family. I can't go up against people like that. But take this." He slid a flash drive toward me. "It's everything I backed up before I left, the contracts, the payment trail, everything. It's enough to prove your father was right." I closed my hand around it. "Thank you," I said, voice tight. "You just gave me what I needed." As I walked back to my car, the late afternoon sun dipped behind the trees, and a chill crept up my spine. My father hadn't been paranoid, he'd been silenced. And now, I was holding the evidence that could burn Nathan's empire to the ground. But when I got back to the motel and plugged in the new flash drive, I realized it wasn't just filled with contracts, it also contained a hidden video file. The timestamp read the night before my father's death. My pulse quickened as the video loaded. The footage was grainy, the lighting dim, like it had been recorded from a hidden camera. It showed my father's office at Hayes & Sons, the same one Nathan had remodeled into his personal trophy room. The timestamp in the corner read 10:43 p.m., the night before my father died. My father sat behind his desk, his face pale, his posture rigid. Across from him stood two men, one was Nathan. The other, though partially out of frame, I recognized instantly from the photos in Samuel's file, Victor Lang. My father's voice, calm but strained, filled the room. "I told you, I'm not signing until the audit clears." Nathan exhaled sharply. "Dad, you're overreacting. These contracts are the company's future." "No," my father said firmly. "They're a noose. Lang's funding comes from shell corporations, and you know it." Lang's voice cut in, smooth and cold. "Mr. Hayes, I think we're past questioning our partnerships. You're an old man who doesn't see how business works now. Let your son handle it." My father stood, slamming his palm on the desk. "You don't talk about my company like that. I built this with my own hands. Nathan's tone cracked. Then maybe it's time you stop pretending it's yours. The camera jolted slightly, like someone had brushed against it. Lang leaned closer to my father, voice barely audible. You sign tonight, or I make sure your little succession plan falls apart. Either way, Hayes and Sons will be ours. My father's eyes darkened. You can't threaten me in my own office. Lang smiled faintly. Who said it was a threat? The footage cut off there, replaced by static. My chest tightened. The timestamp confirmed it. This argument happened hours before Dad was found dead. They'd been there that night. And whatever happened after that conversation, it wasn't natural. My father's heart attack suddenly felt like the biggest lie of all. I copied the video to a secure drive and backed it up to the cloud, labeling it Evidence 1. My hands shook as I called Detective Rowe from Maple PD. He picked up on the second ring. Detective, it's Olivia Hayes. I have something you need to see. Olivia, he said slowly, where did you get this number? You gave it to me when I filed the report for Evelyn Cross. Silence. Then, in a low voice, I didn't work that case. My stomach dropped. What? No one at Maple PD by that name was assigned to it, he said. Whoever called you wasn't a detective. I froze, every sound around me fading. Someone had impersonated a cop to keep tabs on me. Do you have any idea who it could have been? I asked. If you're in danger, you need to leave town right now, Rowe said. I'll send a cruiser to your location. No, I said quickly. If they find me, they'll take the evidence. I hung up before he could respond, grabbed both flash drives, and shoved them into my jacket pocket. The second I stepped outside, headlights flared across the parking lot. A black SUV pulled in, the same one I'd seen outside the office the night I broke in. My breath caught. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out, broad-shouldered, face shadowed under the streetlight. I didn't wait to see more. I sprinted toward my car, fumbling with the keys. A shout echoed behind me. Tires screeched. I gunned the engine and peeled out of the lot, my rearview mirror filled with twin beams following close behind. Rehook, I didn't stop until I reached the outskirts of town, but by then, I realized something terrifying. They weren't just following me. They were hurting me somewhere, and the place they led me was the same one where my father had died. The narrow road leading to my father's lake house twisted through the woods like a memory I didn't want to revisit. My headlights cut through the fog, glinting off the sign that still read Hayes Property, private in faded gold paint. I hadn't been here since the funeral, and even then, I couldn't bring myself to step inside. Now, as I slowed near the gate, I realized the SUV that had been tailing me was gone. Vanished. The sudden quiet made my stomach twist. Either they wanted me here, or I'd just driven straight into a trap. I parked by the overgrown walkway, the smell of pine and rain mixing in the cold air. The lake shimmered in the distance, black and still. I grabbed both flash drives, slipped them into my jacket pocket, and walked up to the front porch. The door creaked open with the same low groan I remembered. Dust and silence swallowed the space. My father's old records still lined the walls, his favorite armchair sitting exactly where he'd left it. It felt like he might walk in at any second, angry that I'd left the lights on. I moved through the house carefully, my phone's flashlight sweeping over old photo frames. My parents smiling. Nathan in his graduation cap. Me, in the corner of every picture, slightly apart but still trying to belong. In the study, the desk drawers were open, papers scattered across the floor. Someone had been here recently. I crouched, picking up a torn envelope addressed to Richard Hayes, Private Legal Affairs. Inside was a copy of a toxicology report. My pulse spiked as I read the first line, cause of death, traces of beta-blocker overdose detected. My father hadn't died of a heart attack. He'd been poisoned. The floor creaked behind me. I turned fast, adrenaline surging. Nathan stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, eyes dark and unsteady. "You shouldn't have come here," he said quietly. "This isn't what you think." "Then tell me what it is," I snapped. "Because I've got files, recordings, everything that says you and Victor Lang killed Dad." "It wasn't supposed to happen like that," he said, voice trembling. He wasn't supposed to. He stopped himself, jaw locking. Lang wanted control of the company. Dad wouldn't sign. Things got out of hand. I didn't know my throat tightened. "You helped them cover it up." "To protect Mom," Nathan said. "She knew everything, Liv." She approved the deal. Lang offered her a seat on the board in exchange for silence. My entire body went cold. Mom. The same woman who'd told me I chose distance. She'd chosen something far worse. "And Evelyn?" I asked. "What did Lang do to her?" Nathan looked away. "She recorded everything. Lang found out. After that." His voice cracked. "They made it look like she disappeared. She wasn't supposed to die." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I forced myself to stay steady. "Then help me fix it. Testify. Turn everything over." He shook his head, backing toward the door. "You don't understand, Liv. It's too late for that. Lang's not just one man. He's got people everywhere, investors, cops, lawyers. If you go public, they'll bury you just like they buried him." He reached into his jacket, pulling out something small and metallic. My pulse jumped until I saw what it was, the flash drive I'd stolen from the office. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "You shouldn't have come back." The moment he turned toward the door, another voice echoed from outside, a voice I recognized instantly. "She's not leaving without the truth, Nathan." It was Detective Rowe, the real one this time, and he wasn't alone. Rain hammered against the windows as Detective Rowe stepped into the room, gun drawn, his badge flashing under the porch light. Two uniformed officers followed close behind, their flashlights cutting through the shadows. Nathan froze, the flash drive clutched in his shaking hand. "Nathan Hayes," Rowe said evenly, "put it down." My brother's eyes darted between us as me, the officers, the open door behind him. "You don't understand," he said, voice cracking. "They're still out there. Lang won't stop. You're all making a mistake." Rowe didn't flinch. "The only mistake was thinking you could hide this forever." Nathan hesitated, then let the flash drive fall to the floor with a dull clatter. The tension broke like glass. The officers moved in, cuffing him without resistance. I stood motionless, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. "Where's Lang?" I asked. Rowe turned to me. "Already in custody. We've been tracking him since Evelyn's case reopened." My breath caught. "Evelyn's case?" "We found her car at the quarry just like you said," he continued. "A search team combed the area this morning. We recovered her phone. The last video she recorded was sent to an encrypted email, yours." I fumbled for my phone, scrolling through unread messages until I found one with no subject line. Attached was a video. I hit play. Evelyn's face appeared, pale and frightened. "Olivia, if you're seeing this, it means they found me. Lang and Nathan were working with your mother. They used the estate as a front to funnel dirty money through shell companies. Your father discovered it and tried to cut them off. That's why they killed him." The video ended abruptly, the sound of car doors slamming echoing before the screen went black. I stared at it, my stomach twisting. "My mother. Where is she?" I asked. Rowe looked grim. "She left town 2 days ago. We've issued a warrant. She won't get far." Nathan turned, his voice hoarse. "She didn't leave. She ran." For the first time, he looked small, hollow. Lang promised her protection if she handed everything over. She thought she could outsmart him. She was wrong. Outside, the sound of another car engine cut through the storm. Rose's radio crackled. Unit 4, suspect vehicle spotted heading north on Lake Road. Rose's jaw tightened. That's her. He turned to one of the officers. Get her. Within minutes, the sirens faded into the distance, swallowed by rain and wind. I leaned against the desk, exhaustion finally catching up to me. The house felt heavy with ghosts, the weight of every lie that had lived inside it. Rose crouched, picking up the flash drive Nathan had dropped. This, along with the files you provided, will close it for good, he said. You did the right thing. I nodded faintly, but the victory felt hollow. Nathan looked at me as they led him out, his voice barely above a whisper. Dad would have been proud of you. When the last police car disappeared down the road, I stood alone in the house my father had built, his voice from that old recording echoing in my mind. If anything happens to me, protect what matters. I walked to his desk, placed both flash drives in the top drawer, and locked it with the brass key that still hung from my neck. Then I opened the windows and let the rain blow in, washing the dust and the memories away. A week later, the headlines were everywhere. Hayes construction scandal exposed, family fraud uncovered. Lang was indicted on multiple counts of fraud and manslaughter. Nathan accepted a plea deal in exchange for testimony. My mother's car was found abandoned near the border. No trace of her since. I inherited what was left of the company, but I didn't rebuild it. Some legacies, I decided, don't deserve resurrection. Instead, I started a new foundation in my father's name, one that built homes for families who needed them most. Real work. Honest work. The kind he believed in. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear his voice from that recording, calm and steady. You are my legacy, Olivia. And maybe, for the first time, I finally believe him. Because in the end, the truth didn't just destroy my family, it set me free.